So I want to look at Ronaldo's die program because it seemed a lot simpler than Story's, and it also did a nice job. So let's just run it and see what it does. I'm saying yours was hard to analyze because it had a lot of stuff in it, and more than a little stuff that would, more than a little bit of stuff that wasn't totally needed. Right? You wrote the whole thing and then you hadn't cleaned it up yet. Right. So here's Ronaldo's kind of nice, clean little implementation. So here we have this. What is this? A D12. So we're looking down from the top of a D12, which we... Where did this image come from? How's that in here? Does anybody see in the code where that image came from? Okay, so we made an image variable, right? And then we read into that image variable this d12.jpg thing that was in the folder. And then we set the background equal to that, right? So if I change this size, does it screw up? Yes. Totes. Cool. So if you change the size to something other than the image, you're going to get a problem, right? All right, and then, okay, so what are you doing here? What are you doing?
Oh, it's picking one of the words out of the string.
Okay.
In this case, the words are numbers.
Okay. That's totally overkill, but sure. Yeah. Cool. So you made a string array called words out of the numbers 1 through 12. And then you did, okay, we're going to get an index from the integer version of a random number between what and who now? Close. Between 0 and 11. Right? Remember the random thing? It pulls a float that's between 0 and the limit you give it. So this array, right, is 12 things long. And so this is pulling a random number between 0 and 12 as a float, except that it can't actually pull the number 12. And then we're turning that into an integer. So that's going to give us a random integer between 0 and 11. You guys with that? And then we have a little bit of debugger left here, right? Nice. And then, okay, so we set a text size. We set a text color. We set the align command in the for text. And then we're generating text, which is the words array, right, evaluated at this index value. So that's pulling one of our random words out. You guys see that? And then we're putting that text at half the width and half the height. Rockstar. This thing seems to do exactly what it ought to do, right? Like, I'm getting a random number. I would like to see either, oh, nice, 12. And if I fiddled with this long enough, I would probably see 1, hopefully. What else would I be watching for, just in terms of, like, did I make a logic error? Yeah, a 0 would be a problem, right? You guys with me on that?
It's a really big problem because it's not in the string words.
Yeah, and actually that's a nice way to make sure that it's never going to pull a 0 regardless of how dorked you made this, right? Because it's not in this string, so the only outcomes are these ones in the string, or in the string array anyway, right? That was a good bit of coding for that, at least. I would say that a little bit overkill because you could really just roll a random between 0 and 12, right? Not including 12. Turn it into an integer, then add 1 to it, and shove it out in the text print box. You guys with me on that? But this works really well. The only complaint I have about this at all is that some of your comments are outdated from the example file you took this from. But otherwise, it's really nice. It has nice, clear comments. It's really easy to understand exactly what this thing is and does. I probably would have added this someplace up here. Like, something about set background image. And then maybe a little note like, you need an image in the folder. Right? That was our problem the first time I tried to play this game. Right? It kicked an error because I didn't have the image in the folder. Cool. Question, Steels?
Does that array have to be in strings or can it be
I don't know. Let's try. So, how would I change it to an integer array? I think maybe int would be a... So if I took this string out... Oh, not sint, but int. Okay, and now it's complaining about all these. Why is it complaining about all of these? Yeah, because those are strings, right? See the little type mismatch thing there? It's saying java string does not match with int. In other words, you're trying to cram the wrong variable. Like, those two things are the wrong type. You can't fit this square peg into this round hole. So if you want to go through and fix that, you might try this, right? Just go through and knock all these off. This is a delight. Oh, God. Oh, God! It's a delightful exercise in using the delete key on a big screen. The pattern changed. Damn it. Alright, so now that we've rematched this, let's see if it still works. Seems like it still works. Nice. So if we're playing Code Golf, you guys know about Code Golf?
You talked about last time.
I maybe mentioned this just briefly last time. Code Golf is the idea that you might try to write a program in as few characters as possible. And this would be a good way to reduce your stroke count, really, right? Your character count by, like, what did I cut there?
All the locations.
Yeah, I cut 24 characters, and also I went from a string to an int, right? So I cut like 26 characters out of this thing.
Well, we can cut everything between 2 and 11 as well. Just have a high number.
It's not the same program.
Well, I mean, if we want,
Right, so if the goal is to build a code dice program in as few of characters as possible, probably are best rolling a 1 or 2-sided die. The 1-sided die is an easy roll, right? But I think we could also improve by, like, we don't actually need this thing here. We really could fully comment that out and just put a 12 in here. And then this needs to be just the index variable now. Now if we try to do the same thing. What am I looking for now?
0.
I'm hoping for either a 1 or a 12. There's a 1 and 11. Why am I not getting a 12? Oh, shit!
0.
What happened? You guys see my logic error?
Yeah.
It's not a coding error, right? This is a logic error. What is the logic error I made?
When you're turning the float into an integer, it runs down. So
Good. It takes so when you take int done to this float, that's turning this float number, which is between 0 and 12, not including 12, and taking just the integer part of that, right? So that's truncating, just tossing the rest of the decimal. So that might be 0-point stuff, and then we truncate and get 0. Or it might be 11-point stuff and truncate and get 11. But what am I not going to get out of that? I'm not going to get 12, but I am going to get 0 stuff. So what do I need to do here? Yeah, I think I want a +1 here. That was a 2-character solution. A slightly more character solution would have been to make this argument for the random from 0 to 13. Ah, thank you. From 1 to 13. So how many characters was that? I went from having just a 12 in there to having a 1 and a 13, right?
You add 2 more.
So I added 2 more. So it's the same number as the index change. But both of these together are going to what?
Oh, that, together they're going to...
Yeah, together I'm going to get a die that rolls between 2 and 14. 13. 2 and 13. If it was between 2 and 14, it should be noted that a die between 2 and 14 is not the same thing as 2d7, 2d7s. You guys all know that?
There's a difference in the variance of numbers.
Yeah. Taking a 1d6 and multiplying by 2 is not the same thing as rolling 2d6s. Even adding them together is not the same as rolling a d12. Okay, cool. Good job. I'm going to put that back to between 0 and... Not 0 and 23. That won't work at all. Okay. Cool. Questions, things on this? No? That was a nice implementation, Ronaldo. Good work. The only thing I want to harp on is you guys could stand to learn to comment your code just a little bit better. So, as you go through, make sure you're putting comments in there.